everyone, and welcome to another Tempo Strategy Meta Snapshot Report. Call of the Mountain has been around long enough for players to become familiar with what the set has to offer, and patch 1.10 also brought with it sweeping changes to a handful of cards. Nerfs to War Chefs, Yordle Grifter, and most importantly Ezreal have pushed their respective archetypes out of the format, while the buff to Lee Sin has also left more players on the ladder experimenting with him. Without Ezreal around, a handful of decks have stepped in to take his place. In this snapshot report, we will take a look at the Tier 1 and Tier 2 decks of the format, but if you want to see what the entirety of the format has to offer, check out the full meta report over on tempostorm.com. There's a link in the description. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay up to date with more Tempo Strategy content. Kicking things off this snapshot is TF Swain. This archetype is no stranger to the format. It has powerful opening curves that let it play aggressively or defensively, depending on its role in the matchup. The deck has access to powerful AoE removal effects with Make It Rain, Twisted Fate, and Powder Kegs. Much of the deck's removal also doubles as Nexus Burn, chipping the opponent down throughout the game. In the late game, the deck can set up a lock with Swain and the Leviathan. Many enemy decks will struggle to remove the lock, and it will grind players out of the game. This deck has powerful tools throughout the game, and solid hand refill with Salvage, Zap Sprayfin, Twisted Fate, and the Leviathan. Swain TF has been a top contender in the Runeterra format for some time now, and doesn't show signs of slowing down anytime soon. Rising to the top this snapshot is Fiora Shen, a classic deck from the early days of Runeterra. This deck has two game plans that work great alongside each other. The deck can win through assembling a dominant board state to pressure the enemy life total. Alternatively, the deck can look to win through Fiora, who can be protected with barriers and deny. Eventually, the Fiora Shen player will be able to get River Shaper into play, which will essentially turn barriers into additional spell draw. Fiora Shen is able to control the board particularly well with its barriers on challenger units, alongside single combat and concerted strike. Once Fiora Shen establishes a grip on the board, it rarely lets go of it, continuing to beat the opponent off the board through efficient trades and deny. Pirate Aggro is a low-to-the-ground aggressive deck with high amounts of burn to close the game out. It is a classic 9 1-drop deck, meaning it wants to get onto the board immediately so that it can pressure the enemy life total right away. The deck maintains a curve with units that are not only well statted, but also have forms of direct Nexus damage attached to them. This curve continues up to its 5 drops, where either Jack, the winner, or Gangplank will hit the board. Jack will give you a fleeting sleep with the fishes each round, which will apply solid pressure to the enemy Nexus, as well as level up Gangplank. Gangplank himself is a great finisher, which is hard to block due to overwhelm. Once leveled up, Gangplank's attack becomes even harder to block, as he will deal damage to all the enemies just before he attacks. Noxus Bilgewater has become one of the most powerful region combinations in the current format, between Swain Twisted Fate, Pirate Aggro, and even Twisted Fate Gangplank builds running around. Closing off Tier 1 is Trundle Asol. This deck aims to play ramp effects such as Catalyst of Eons and Wording Stones as early as possible, so that it can cheat out big units fast. Ideally, it will be able to get Trundle into play on turn 4, which will make attacking and blocking for the enemy difficult. Enemies are incentivized to go wide to push damage through Trundle, but must be cautious when doing so, as Avalanche and Icequake threaten to destroy wide boards. On turn 8, Ice Pillar and the Infinite Mind Splitter become unlocked. Ice Pillar will allow your large units to bully smaller ones off the board, while the Infinite Mind Splitter will stun down 2 units of your choice every turn until it leaves play. These 2 units can be played on the same turn, letting you build a solid board of blockers while turning off enemy attackers. Between the deck's high amount of bulk and excellent healing with Guiding Touch, Kindly Tavern Keeper, and Revitalizing Roar, this deck will often find the time to land Aurelion Sol and ride him to victory. Leading off Tier 2 is Warmothers, another Trundle ramp strategy. Instead of looking to Targon, Warmothers instead looks to Shadow Isles for its removal tools, such as Vengeance, Ruination, and Withering Wail. The deck will aim to cheat mana as early as turn 3 so that it can play Trundle early and set up a roadblock. If the deck ever gets the opportunity to play Warmother's Call, it will often set up an overwhelming board state in just a few turns. Where Noxus Bilgewater acts as a major pillar of the format, so does Trundle ramp. The archetype style represents a large part of the current meta and forces decks to go under their large game plans. Lux Asol is a powerful archetype that is able to outvalue most decks it will face. The deck has solid tools to fight for the board between Solari Soldier, Solari Shieldbearer, and Grizzled Ranger. player. The deck has an abundance of healing between Radiant Guardian, Guiding Touch, and Star Shaping, which is critical for helping it to survive long enough to play Aurelion Sol. Single Combat and Concerted Strike give the deck solid removal options, so long as the Lux Aurelion Sol player can maintain a decent board presence. Between Radiant Guardian, Lux, Aurelion Sol, and other invoke effects, the deck is able to accrue incredible amounts of value and grind out its opponents in long wars of attrition. A strategy built around its namesake champion, Targon Lee aims to get a leveled up Lee Sin in play so it can attach a Zenith Blade to it. Once Lee has Overwhelm, he becomes an unstoppable machine, often killing whatever he wants in combat, while dealing massive Overwhelm damage between his regular attack and Dragon's Rage. Between buffs from Mentor of Stones and Gems, it is not impossible to get Lee up to 10 power, which can set up one-turn kills. It's going to be interesting to see where Lee Sin decks go from here, since it is likely they have yet to be completely figured out. We are living in the largest Legends of Runeterra format to date. Players are slamming massive dragons and Warmothers Call. The most aggressive decks of the format have solid mid-range bulk. The nerf to Ezreal has largely removed Piltover and Zaun from the format, leaving room for a deck like Fiora Shen to thrive. The most recent patch certainly brought some unexpected changes to the format, and it is likely new decks will continue to pop up in the weeks to come. How do you feel about the first Runeterra metagame where Ezreal is absent? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with more tempo strategy content. Thanks for watching!